During the holidays, there was this rumor going around that Kamala Harris was doing such a garbage job as vice president that the Democrats were considering appointing her to the Supreme Court just to get rid of her because they couldn't run her in the next election. Now, it's probably a joke of some kind that was just going around Washington, but it did point to something that's actually important. I have mentioned that we are in an information crisis. I think that is absolutely true. I think that is at the center of a lot of our problems. What has happened, I think, is that the mainstream media and the deep state government and corporate media are doubling down on their ideological corruption. They're lying and supporting things that they like and attacking things that they dislike in order to counter the flood of information and misinformation that's coming in through the internet. They want to seize control of a narrative that has slipped away from them. They used to own the narrative. Now they've lost it. They've panicked and they've just started lying like dogs. So in doing that, in fact, it's kind of backfired on them. They've lost our trust entirely. So when they come out and say something, that might be a good idea, like take the vaccine, we're like, absolutely not. You're trying to kill us. And that makes perfect sense because they've lied about everything else. Now, the fact that they've lost our trust has had different effects on both sides because they're Democrats, because they're leftists, and because they're lying for the Democrats. What you have is you have Democrats who are trapped in this thing where they run from fallen idol to fallen idol. Oh, Hillary, isn't she wonderful? She's this career criminal, very, very sleazy woman, never really accomplished anything on her own, just rode on Bill Clinton's coattails, and she somehow is a feminist icon. Oh, they love her so much until they find out, oh yeah, she was colluding with Russia in order to accuse Trump of colluding with Russia. Then, another one, Michael Avenatti, they go to Andrew Cuomo and they discover he's a bad guy. And now it's Anthony Fauci. Here's what Biden said about Anthony Fauci yesterday. This is cut 27.
I've seen more of Dr. Fauci than I have my wife. We kid each other, but they look, who's president? Fauci. But all kidding aside, I sincerely mean it.
I mean, this is typical of what goes on, is that when their idols fall, here's a guy, Fauci, who has done nothing to reduce the effects of the Chinese flu. The red states have ignored him and done better. The Wall Street Journal had an article about how well the red states are doing financially, and they haven't done any worse in terms of flu numbers. The Florida labor force has expanded 1.2% during the pandemic, while California's has shrunk 2.1%. California has lost 40 times more workers than Florida, adjusting for population. That is true of all the states. In all the states, the red states are doing better. A few exceptions like Alaska, but in most of the states, the red states are doing far better than the blue states because they ignored Fauci. They ignored Fauci, so now Joe Biden is joking that he's really the president of the United States, which, yes, would be an improvement, but it would be an improvement if a stone at this point were president of the United States. So that's the effect on the left. The left goes from they hero worship clowns. They hero worship clowns, and then they just kind of stuff them in the memory hole. When Andrew Cuomo, turns out to be chasing, they didn't get Andrew Cuomo for sending COVID patients into rest homes where they slaughtered old people in New York State. They got him because he grabbed a couple of women by the backside, and so now he goes down the drain. They just forget it. They forget all the good stuff they said. He was going to be president. Michael Avenatti was going to be president. Fauci, they've got little candles with Fauci. They'll forget about that once the truth about him finally sinks in. But on the right wing, there's something different. The information crisis has resulted in a tendency to believe like every conspiracy theory that comes down the pike. And why wouldn't you? The media lies, the government lies, the media lies about the government lying, the government lies about the media lying.
They knew what they were doing was a lie. I knew what they were doing was a lie. Everybody here knows what they were doing is a lie. They know that we know they're lying, and yet they continue to lie.
When someone comes along and says, well, Venezuela rigged the voting machines, or the pandemic is really a plandemic, they actually planned this out so they could take our freedoms away, we think, well, it could be. Everybody else is lying about everything. Why wouldn't that be the truth? But I have another theory, and I think my theory is much more realistic. It's much more in keeping with the way things work. Now, many of you know my title of Lord of the Multiverse. And I couldn't get a nice plaque that showed that I actually own a piece of the multiverse, which of course I do. But I could get a plaque that shows that I own a little piece of Scotland and I am Lord Andrew Klavan. And this is legit. This is legit. Established titles. This comes from Established Titles. It's your opportunity to earn the title of Lord or Lady and gain the respect you deserve. Now, that part hasn't worked for me, but it might work for you. All you need is 1 square foot plot of land in Scotland. Established Titles is a project based on a historic Scottish custom where landowners are referred to as lairds or lords and ladies in English. In your title pack, you'll receive at least 1 square foot of dedicated land on a private estate and an official certificate with a crest. Your certificate, here it is, will include a unique plot number with which you can see the exact location of your land. With this certificate, you could officially change your name to Lord and Lady and get it on your credit card or plane tickets or anything else like that. Established Titles is having a great limited time sale, so go to establishedtitles.com/Klavan to save 10% off today. And remember to use the discount code Klavan or just click the link below. That's establishedtitles.com/Klavan or just click the link below. Shouldn't it be Lord Klavan /Lord Klavan? Well, it's not. It's Klavan. It's KL. My theory is simply this, that our elites as a class are worn out. We've reached the end of something. We've reached the end of the post-war era, that we've reached the end of Reagan republicanism, which kept us afloat even until Barack Obama destroyed it. But it kept us going. Clinton followed the Reagan path, and that's why he did very well economically. All of those things have come to an end. And something new is beginning, and the people that we have in place as elites are played out. They're done. They're corrupt. They've become corrupt, and they're incompetent, and their ideas don't work, and they are just doing the same things over and over again. They don't work. And there are only 2 choices. One choice is to look in the mirror and say, really, I do not deserve to be an elite. I'm going to hand over my Mercedes. I'm going to give up my big house. I'm going to step down from my office and just go away and think for a while and figure out how I can become a better person. Yeah, I know what you're thinking. You're right. That's not going to happen, right? Or they have to keep promoting one another in their incompetence in order to continue the illusion that somehow they should be worshipped until they get caught, until they chase a girl down the street, until they get caught with money in their pocket they shouldn't have, until Fauci turns out to have been the complete obvious incompetent and fool and buffoon and power-hungry madman that he is. Until all that stuff comes out, they just keep promoting one another and lying to one another and praising one another, making sure the press praises one another and blaming you for their failures. Their catastrophes are because you're a racist. You're a bad guy. You do bad. You're too stupid to go right. If you didn't go to college, you're a dumb white guy. If you did go to college, you're an elite. If you served in the military, you're a warmonger. If you didn't serve in the military, you're a coward. Whatever it is, whatever they can attack you on, that's the reason all their policies fail. That's the reason their cities look like garbage. That's the reason their unemployment is worse in their states than in red states. It's all because of you. It's all your fault. And they attack our freedom of speech. They don't attack our freedom of speech because they're sitting around thinking like, we're going to get rid of freedom of speech. I've always hated that. And the integrity of our elections with their attempt to have a federal takeover of elections. They're not doing that. They're doing that because those are the places that consequences might come from. Those are the places where they will be held to account because they're not going to hold each other to account. They're not going to hold themselves to account. Jack Boots Dorsey retired as CEO of Twitter and handed it over to the anti-free speech racist Parag Agrawal, a guy who said that, he's not, if white people can't distinguish between Muslims and extremists, I'm not going to distinguish between white people and racists, something like that. The guy's a clown. And he said, we're not responsible to the First Amendment. We don't need, but what they did was Twitter immediately put in place new terms of use that make it difficult to ridicule public officials who you should be ridiculing. Those are the people you should be ridiculing to protect them in their incompetence. This is not a conspiracy against freedom. It's not as a first objective. What we're simply seeing is a conspiracy of incompetence, which is intended to keep the incompetents from losing their elite status because of their incompetence. So Kamala has failed at being vice president. Let's put her on the Supreme Court. Fauci has failed in dealing with the pandemic. So let's make him president. Whatever you say about Donald Trump, I have good things and bad things to say about Donald Trump. When I say bad things, you get ticked off at me, but I can only tell you the truth. But there is no question that he's shone a light on the incompetence and corruption of Democrats who elevate criminals like Hillary Clinton and Republicans who commit political malpractice like running crap candidates like Mitt Romney and John McCain. That's why they keep on about January 6th. January 6th was bad. It was not a good thing. It was a bad thing. Trump bears some blame for that, but it is no worse than lockdowns that have kept children out of school and caused people to commit suicide. It's no worse than the riots that they sat and ignored. First the media caused them, then the media ignored them. The crime and the homelessness in our cities, which are a disgrace, the inflation, the disaster in Afghanistan, the slow motion tragedy of what the Great Society has done to our black citizens, for which no one has paid the price except for we, the people. If you want more great content like this, subscribe and give us a like.